Meets today to mark up the original bill, the National Defense Authorizing Act for fiscal year 2025. We will hold this subcommittee markup in open session. I'm confident that based on the agenda today, we can publicly conduct the business without disclosing classified information or adversely impacting the process. But if there are members who want to raise anything, offer an amendment, or raise an issue that touches upon material of a classified nature, please defer that for the full committee's consideration. While the subcommittee is meeting in open session, the entire contents of the markup book are subject to amendment throughout the entire process of consideration by SASC and are therefore embargoed until passed by the full committee and then reported to the Senate. Traditionally, the subcommittee has used the chairman's mark as the markup vehicle. Without objection, we'll use the chairman's mark as a markup vehicle subject to amendment. Seeing no objection to that, it is so ordered. I remind members, if you want to call up an amendment for consideration, please identify the amendment by the amendment number. This courtesy will help eliminate confusion and speed up consideration of all amendments. Consistent with the practice and precedent of both this subcommittee and the full committee, there are a number of types of amendments that cannot be considered that will not be in order. First, amendments involving a significant matter that's not within the jurisdiction of this subcommittee. Second, amendments that contain a significant matter not in SASC jurisdiction. Third, amendments that involve shared jurisdiction with another committee where when that committee has not agreed to consideration of the amendment for inclusion in the subcommittee's mark. And finally, amendments that would constitute an earmark. And further, it's been the practice that any amendment to add funding has to be accompanied by an offset. Accordingly, if any senator proposes an amendment that would increase spending, he or she must also identify an offset to pay for it, and unless the offset can be found within funding that is within the jurisdiction of this subcommittee, the amendment needs to be offered before the full committee. All right, now just a few comments about the work of this subcommittee. It really means a lot to me to chair Seapower. Senator Hirono and I have sort of traded readiness and Seapower over the years, and I'm really happy to be the Seapower chair. And that's because the Navy and the Marine Corps are so important, both to the national security but to my Commonwealth. I'm really proud of the work and programs supported in Virginia, and I know all of you feel the same way about your Navy and Marine investments, activities, personnel within your own states. This mark focuses on modernization and capabilities of the sea services and includes some important priorities: investments in the shipbuilding industrial base, strengthening workforce development initiatives, investments in new technologies to maintain dominance while also modernizing the Navy and Marine Corps. Further, it's important to note the role that the Navy plays to enable many partnership alliances. We spent a good bit of time last year talking about AUKUS. This subcommittee's work is very connected to the importance of that alliance as well as others. So we've got to continue to make these investments to meet our own obligations, but also to partner more deeply and maintain our commitments with partners and allies. Before I proceed, I do want to thank personal office staff and the committee on both sides who've continued to work together in a real bipartisan way. All items in the subcommittee markup have been agreed to by both sides without exception. And this includes Caitlin, Roberto, and Maha from my staff, as well as my defense fellows, Angelica and Ryan, and Colby and Hakela from Senator Kramer's staff, and then Eric, Pat, Christina, Creighton, Jenny, Griffin, Katie, and Noah from the committee staff. The subcommittee markup package before us consists of 14 legislative provisions, 13 special interest provisions, 16 budget items, and I'm very proud of that work. At this point, I ask the ranking member, Senator Kramer, for his opening comments.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I agree. It's nice to have you and Senator Hirono switching off. I get to work with both of you and I've enjoyed it both times. And as awkward as it is for a member from the Senate of the North American continent to be on the Seapower subcommittee, much less the ranking member, nonetheless, I agree with everything you just said, and which is part of what makes this committee and this subcommittee, I think, so special, is that we are going the same direction. This markup does address a wide range of procurement, sustainment, research, development programs, and needs that directly support our sailors and our Marine Corps, for sure. But I think we need to do a lot more. I believe that more funding is required to provide our Navy and our Marine Corps with the resources needed to implement the defense strategy and to keep pace with inflation. Fiscal year 2025 will be the first time that we procure 6 or fewer battle force ships in 17 years. Let me say that again. First time that we procure 6 or fewer battle force ships in 17 years. It also plans to reduce the Navy's tactical aircraft to the fewest number in 17 years. And I hope we can make bipartisan progress in this area at the full committee markup and believe firmly that support of Senator Wicker's budget amendment will help us get Seapower priorities back on track. In addition, I support the legislative provisions in this mark that reinforce best practices in Navy and Marine Corps acquisition strategies. For example, the bill would improve ship design maturity, ensure a better balance of risk sharing on long-term shipbuilding contracts, and move away from just-in-time supply of parts to enhance ship readiness. This bill also supports near-term sea lift solutions to accelerate Marine Corps efforts in force design. And I'm just going to put a big exclamation mark on what the chairman said about alliances. You're exactly right. It's always been our strength, and it needs to continue to be, and we need to do even more of it. With that, I'll just wrap up by agreeing 100% without naming everybody one more time, the incredible staff work. Thank you for recognizing the staff, the personal staff and the committee staff on all sides. It's a great team, and I'm proud to be part of it.
Thank you, Senator Kramer. We'll now move to considering the manager's package. There's 8 amendments that have been cleared by both sides. You might have noticed that, like in personnel or readiness, it's 50 or 60 amendments. Traditionally, the number of cleared amendments in the Seapower subcommittee is smaller because most amendments are expensive and they get kicked to the full committee. But there are 8, and I'm just going to describe them quickly. King 13 is modified, which is regarding reports concerning warship planning, design, and construction practices. Tuberville 53 is modified, supporting ship repair grant program. Kramer 60 is modified, modifying the requirement to incorporate advanced degaussing technology into destroyers. Kramer 61 is modified to modify used vessels authority. Schmidt 95 is modified, requiring a report on undersea cable posture. Kaine 197, a sense of Congress on aircraft carrier acquisition strategies. Sullivan 218 is modified, modifying procurement authority for certain amphib programs. And Sullivan 539 is modified to clarify authorities related to expansion of shipbuilding infrastructure in the Navy. I decided to read all those to make a point. Almost all are modified. And what that means is, senators and their staffs have good ideas and they submit them, and then they engage in this dialogue across the aisle and with staff to take a good idea and make it a completely agreeable idea. And I commend all the staffs and the senators for having good ideas, but then being willing to modify them to make sure that they fit and they get in the manager's package. Is there any objection to adopting these 8 amendments? Without objection, the manager's package is adopted. Are there any other amendments that members want to bring forward? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion that the subcommittee, we've already adopted the manager's package. All right. So what we will now do is I move that the recommendations of the subcommittee be reported to the full committee, and that the staff be authorized to draft bill and report language implementing agreements reached today and to make necessary technical and conforming changes. Is there a second? Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The motion is agreed to. Is there any other business to come before the subcommittee? With that, the subcommittee is adjourned. See you this afternoon.